Solutions to digital divide increase affordability, empowering users, improve the relevance of online content. Internet infrastructure development address gender gap in internet access. Creative Commons, a kind of copyright that makes it easier for people to copy, share, and build on your creative work as long as they give you credit for it. Open source, software that is created for free use by everyone. Copyright, the exclusive legal right given to an originator or an assignee to print, publish, perform, film, or record literary, artistic, or musical material, and to authorize others to do the same. Abstraction, reducing information and detail to focus on essential characteristics. Control abstraction, don't care how it gets done. Data abstraction, representing or storing information with methods that separate layers of concern so that the programmer can work with information while ignoring lower-level details about how the information is represented. Abstraction allows you to modify parts of a program without messing up the larger program. Abstraction hierarchy, most general concepts on top of the hierarchy and specific concepts on the bottom. Pattern recognition, looking for similarities among and within problems. Problem decomposition, the process of breaking a complex problem or system into parts that are easier to conceive, understand, program, and maintain. Binary, the binary number system is based 2, using only bits 0 and 1. Hexadecimal, a base 16 number system that uses 16 distinct symbols 0 to 9 and AF to represent numbers from 0 to 15. Natural language, person to person. Oval, start-end. Rectangle, action or process. Diamond, a choice. Arrow, direction of a choice. Rhombus, input/output. Pseudocode, shorthand notation for programming. Algorithm analysis, a general process that determines the amount of resources necessary to execute any particular algorithm, most commonly using big O notation, such as O or L. Linear search, each item in the list is checked in order. Binary search, an ordered list is divided in two with each comparison. Bubble sort, moving through a list repeatedly, swapping elements that are in the wrong order. Merge sort, a list is split into individual lists, these are then combined. Recursive algorithm, solves a problem by breaking that problem into smaller subproblems, solving these subproblems and combining the solutions. Randomization, a process of randomly assigning subjects to different treatment groups. Heuristic solution, a problem-solving technique which sacrifices accuracy to increase speed. Rules of thumb. Linear algorithm, sequential search, searches by checking each element in a set. Quadratic, degree of 2. Exponential function, constant ratio increase. Logarithmic function, what exponent is needed to get a number. Control structure, an instruction that determines the order in which other instructions in a program are executed. If and loops. Standard operators, end. Correctness, depends on correctness of program components, including code segments and procedures. Extensibility, allows for future growth in a program. Modifiability, software is able to be modified. Reusability software, the use of existing assets such as software, knowledge, code into new software. Syntax error, a character or string incorrectly placed in a command or instruction that causes a failure in execution. Runtime error becomes apparent when the program is executed. Compile time error, an error in the source code that makes it impossible to compile, also called a syntax error. Overflow error, a calculation produces a result that is greater than the computer can deal with or store with the available number of bits. Round-off error, the error produced when a decimal result is rounded in order to provide a meaningful answer. Logic error, an error in a program that makes it do something other than what the programmer intended. Sequence, the order in which things happen or should happen. Selection, a generic term for a type of programming statement that uses a Boolean condition to determine or select whether or not to run a certain block of statements. Iteration control structure represents the computer's ability to repeat a series of instructions loops. Assignment operator, the equals sign in an assignment statement. Arithmetic operators perform mathematical calculations. Relational operators used to compare two values. Operators include equals, less than, less than equals, less than, greater than. Logical operators and, or, not. Floating point, a type that represents numbers with fractional parts. Global scope variables. When variables are declared outside of a function, variables declared globally can even be called from other files can have unintended side effects. Local scope variable, only used for the block of code they are declared in. Event-driven programming. The program is activated by events such as button clicks. Dictionary and maps, stores data in an array. Stack, first and last out data storage. Push, add item to top of stack. Pop, to remove an item from the top of a stack. Queue, data stored in a line first in, first out. Inca, to add an item to the rear of a queue. Dequeue, to remove an item from the front of a queue. Characteristics of well-documented computer programs. Usable, readable, modular. Code review, a peer review process in which programmers check over one another's work to ensure its quality. End user, a representative consumer for whom a hardware or software product is designed. APIS, application programming interface, how you define libraries and call them. Data validation. The process of verifying that a program's input data is within the expected range. Data verification. Validates that data is correct and accurate. Components of IDEs. Text editor, debugger, compiler, code completion, language support, plugins. Low-level programming language, a programming language that provides little or no abstraction from a computer's instruction set. Architecture, commands or functions in the language map closely to processor instructions. Generally, this refers to either machine code or assembly language. High-level programming language, a programming language that hides the details of how the computer hardware solves a problem and is therefore easier for a programmer to use. Procedural programming, method of programming that uses step-by-step instructions. Object-oriented programming, designing a program by discovering objects, their properties, and their relationships. Programming paradigm, a way of approaching problems. Object-oriented, functional, and imperative paradigms are three major paradigms. Functional programming, a programming paradigm that uses functions to create programs. Imperative programming, where a developer writes code that describes in exacting detail the steps that the computer must take to accomplish the goal. Class diagram, rectangle with name at top, variables in the middle, and methods in the bottom. Inheritance, when subclass get the variables and methods of the superclass. Overloading a method, giving two methods the same name but different method signatures. Overriding a method, redefining a method in a subclass. Compilation, turning programming language into machine language. Interpretation, the result of a program. Source code, a program in high-level language before being compiled. Object code, the output of the compiler after it translates the program. 8 blank make up 1 blank, bits, byte. How to remember the smallest bits to largest bits, kilo, mega, gigatera. Lossy data compression technique where the number of bits needed to store or transmit information is reduced but the original data cannot be reconstructed. Lossless data compression reduces the file size without any loss of data quality. Encoding, the processing of information so that it can be stored. Encryption, a process of encoding messages to keep them secret so only authorized parties can read it. Need a key. Simulation models, computerized models that can be tested under different scenarios to identify acceptable solutions to problems. Modeling, building a model. Trace code, writing down the values of the variables and how they change each time the body of the loop executes. Redundancy, ability to provide continued service no matter what happens. Backups, copies of files that you can use to replace the originals if they're lost or damaged. Data collection, the process of acquiring existing information or developing new information. Aggregation, information is gathered and expressed in a summary form for purposes such as statistical analysis. Data generation, development of data, frequently qualitative rather than numerical, by the data collector. Data generated by sensors, input by physical environment. Surveys, an ordered series of questions intended to elicit information from respondents. Citizen science, the collection and analysis of data relating to the natural world by members of the general public, typically as part of a collaborative project with professional scientists. Computer operating systems, programs that control and coordinate interactions between hardware and software. Motherboard, a circuit board that contains all of the computer system's main components. CPU, the key component of a computer system which contains the circuitry necessary to interpret and execute program instructions. Random access memory, temporary memory a computer uses to store information while it is processing. Hard drive disk, a computer device that reads, writes, and stores digital data. Permanent storage on computer. Video card, an interface card installed in the computer to control visual output on a monitor, also called display adapter or graphics card. Optical drive, used for reading and writing CD and DVD. Input and output devices, keyboard, mouse, printer, etc. Software, written programs or procedures or rules and associated documentation pertaining to the operation of a computer system and that are stored in read-write memory. System software, software responsible for the general operation of a computer system, including the operation of hardware, running application software, and file management. Programming software, a classification for software which is designed to help programmers write programs more effectively and efficiently. Application software, computer software created to allow the user to perform a specific job or task. Internet of Things. The idea that objects are becoming connected to the Internet so they can interact with other devices, applications, or services. Embedded system. An operating system that combines processors and software in a device. Desktop computer, computer designed so the system unit, input devices, output devices, and any other devices fit entirely on or under a desk or table. Cluster computing, connecting server computers via software and networking so that their resources can be used to collectively solve computing tasks. Logic gate, a circuit that produces an output based on the inputs. Steps to execute a computer program: fetch, decode, execute. Fetch, computer gets instructions from RAM or cache. Decode, CPU works out the instructions. Execute, computer carries out instructions. Components of a network: cable, hub, switch, NIC, modem and router. Computer hub, networking device that connects multiple computers or other network devices together. It has no routing tables or intelligence on where to send information. Switch, a computer networking device that connects network segments. Modem, communications hardware device that facilitates the transmission of data. Router, device that forwards data packets between computer networks. Bandwidth, the amount of data that can be transmitted over a network in a given amount of time. Network load, the ability to balance traffic across two or more links. Network latency, the amount of time it takes for a packet of data to get across the network from one point to another. HTTP, the protocol used for transmitting web pages over the Internet. FTP, a protocol used to move files and folders over a network or the Internet. HTML, the written code that creates web pages and links, a language all computers can read. IPv4, the Internet Protocol version 4 is the dominant protocol for routing traffic on the Internet, specified to and from addresses using a dotted decimal such as 122.45.255.0. IPv6, Internet addresses that are 64-bit IP addresses, uses hexadecimal. Parts of a URL, protocol, subdomain, domain name, port, path. HTTPS www.yourservice.com 80/01-demand/default.aspx protocol HTTPS www.yourservice.com 80/01-demand/default.aspx subdomain www HTTPS www.yourservice.com 80/01-demand/default.aspx domain name yourservice.com HTTPS www.yourservice.com 80/01-demand/default.aspx port 80 HTTPS www.yourservice.com 80/01-demand/default.aspx path/on-demand default ASPX. Purpose of IP address: two principal functions: host or network interface identification, location addressing. 5 pillars of cybersecurity: confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation, authentication. Confidentiality, the act of holding information in confidence not to be released to unauthorized individuals. Integrity ensures the accuracy of data used in business processes and transactions. Availability. Non-repudiation, a contractual stipulation to ensure that business participants do not deny their online actions. Authentication, verifying the identity of the person or device attempting to access the system. Internet browser, computer programs that read and interpret code to display a web page to the user. Internet server, computer that responds to requests to provide information and services over the Internet. Internet client, a computer that requests services from a server. Markup language, a language that provides text and graphics formatting through the use of tags. In a database, rows are known as record. In a database, columns are known as fields. BIOS, basic input-output system. Waterfall software development flows in largely one direction through the phases of conception, initiation, analysis, design, construction, testing, deployment, and maintenance. RJ45, a port that looks like a large phone jack and is used by twisted pair cable to connect to a wired network adapter or other hardware device. RJ stands for registered jack. Assembly language, programming language that has the same structure and set of commands as machine languages but allows programmers to use symbolic representations of numeric machine code. Interpreted code, code that is compiled on the fly each time the program is run. A recursive function is a function that calls itself directly or indirectly. Peripherals, physical devices that allow for data to be entered into a computer, data to be returned to the user, or functions to do both: enter and return data. F1 function key will retrieve help when pressed while an object, property, or method of Visual Basic Code is highlighted in the Visual Basic editor. DHCP. A network service that provides automatic assignment of IP addresses and other TCP/IP configuration information. DNS. Naming system for computers, services, or other resources connected to the Internet or a private network. IP address range 0 to 255. IPv6 is divided into 8 sections. IPv4 is divided into 4 sections.